GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Welcome back to the GSMC College Football Podcast. Just talked a little bit about Northwestern. We're going to switch gears. We're going to talk about the Pac. I don't even know if I want to call it the Pac-12. Obviously, it's not the Pac-12 right now. It was the Pac-2 last year. I guess it's the Pac-7 right now. But yeah, only 7 football teams. The Pac-12 needs another football member in order to be a conference. And from the looks of it, I think they want to be a conference. Obviously tried to maintain the conference after pretty much everybody left, after it was just Washington State and Oregon State on an island. They quickly came together, added a couple Mountain West teams, San Diego State, Utah State, who else? There's a couple other ones, Colorado State, but mostly Mountain West. Boise State, there was a Boise State, that was a big one. But they still need another team. They did get Gonzaga as a basketball-only member, but they need another football team. So let's look at some of the options. I think the number one option for them right now is going to be Sacramento State. So Sac State is just applied to join the FBS as an independent. I think that's probably going to be pretty cut and dry. They're going to be approved. They're going to move from the SES to the FBS. Obviously, right now, there's only, I know Notre Dame's an independent. UMass isn't an independent anymore. They're actually joining a conference. Army and Navy aren't even independents anymore. They're in the AAC. So there's really only 1 or 2 independents in the nation right now. Sac State's going to join them, but obviously this move is setting them up to join a conference in the near future. I think that conference is probably going to be the Pac-12. It makes a lot of sense. Sacramento State's in their market on the Pacific Coast. Sacramento, number 20 media market in the country, pretty good size media market. They have a lot more money resources than pretty much anyone kind of realizes. They kind of fly under the radar in terms of that. And they also have invested heavily in the past couple years in basketball and football. Hired a new head coach, Brendan Marion. He was the UNLV offensive coordinator. Hired him in December. So obviously bringing in a guy from the FBS level that had a lot of success. UNLV had a really solid offense last year. Dealt with multiple quarterbacks. That's going to be their new head coach. Also brought in Mike Bibby as their new men's basketball coach. So clearly Sacramento State's trying to jump up a level. They're trying to compete with the big guys, the big dogs. And it looks like, I think they're probably going to be gunning for a Pac-12 invitation. I think that's the most likely option. But I don't know if the Pac would be done yet. I think there's a couple other really solid options, really solid teams for them to look at. I think the next biggest one, is going to be Texas State. So Texas State, obviously, they play in the Sun Belt, located in San Marcos. That's pretty much right outside Austin, kind of in that greater Austin metropolitan area. And this could be a way for the Pac-12 to try to break into the Texas market. So the Mountain West, obviously, they added UTEP, I believe. It was UTEP or UT San Antonio. I can't remember which one off the top of my head. but they're breaking into that Texas market. I think if the Pac-12 wants to try to do the same thing, they need Texas State. Texas State makes a lot of sense. Is a lot bigger than people realize. I didn't know they had 40,000 undergrads, so that's a really good sized school. They're also an R2 research institution, meaning they have some funds, they have a little bit more resources than people kind of realize, and they probably can join a guest power conference. I don't know if I really want to call the Pac-12 a power conference right now. They've kind of declined a little bit just since their dissolution, but this could be a really solid option for the Pac if they wanted to try to break into that Texas market, want to try to maybe get into that and just expand their geological footprints, bring in another school that's got a decent amount of resources. I think Texas State makes a lot of sense. Obviously, they're not really going to be able to get any of the other big Texas schools. Most of those schools are locked into the Big 12. Baylor, Texas Tech, TCU, Houston just joined the Big 12. So most of those big-time Texas schools, the ones with more resources, they're not going anywhere. They're going to stay in the Big 12. They're not going to leave the Big 12. It's a better situation right now for them, and it's more stable. But Texas State, I think, could be a really decent option for them, for the Pac, if they want to try to expand that footprint, if they want to keep growing that market. Now, if they really want to try and expand their footprint, I know they asked these two teams earlier this year, in late October 2024, they tried to extend an invitation to Tulane and to Memphis. Now I'm going to talk about Tulane first. If I think Tulane's a really decent option if the Pac-12 wants to try to break into the South. Obviously, Tulane's an original SEC school. They've had a really good amount of success on the gridiron recently under Willie Fritz, as well. John Sumrall, new head coach. He's had a ton of success. Sorry. I don't know why that word's so hard for me sometimes. Success at Tulane. They've been a really solid program the past 5-10 years. And they're in a really big market. They're in New Orleans, pretty much right in the city. R1 Research Institution. They've got plenty of funds. That's a pretty expensive school to attend. Their tuition's around $80,000 a year, but they have the resources, they have the ability to join the Pac-12. I just wonder, does it make sense for them to actually make that move? I think it makes more sense for them than for Memphis, just because there's a couple different reasons, but I think Tulane, they're a little more flexible, they're a little more willing to adapt, and they have the money to be able to travel consistently to the Pacific Coast to compete in a conference that does that. And I think it can make sense for them. If they want to be, I think Tulane would be really well. They do really well in the Pac too. I think they'd have success on the football field. I think they're probably a pretty similar profile program compared to a Washington State or an Oregon State. They might be a tier or two below that, but they're not far off. And I think they're probably ahead of some of those Mountain West teams that the Pac-12 has brought in. I think they're a better program than Colorado State, than Utah State, probably than San Diego State. And I think Boise's kind of a toss-up because Boise is normally pretty consistently pretty solid. But I think Tulane can make a lot of sense as a member of the Pac-12. Memphis, they've also, the Pac tried to reach out, get feelers from Memphis right at the same time as Tulane. I think that's another option for trying to break into the South, trying to break into that market. Memphis, obviously, decent-sized media market. They might be more attainable. I think they're probably more likely to stay in the American Athletic Conference, just in terms of financial aspects. I think Tulane has a little bit more resources than Memphis, so it's going to be difficult for Memphis to, try to move to the Pac-12, even if they wanted to. I don't know if they'd be able to do that with travel consistently. And the other thing with Memphis is they're really more of a basketball school, especially since Penny Hardaway's been there in the past 4 or 5 years. They've really put more money, more resources into basketball. And obviously, the Pac is not going to be a super strong basketball conference. Gonzaga's going to join, but besides that, there's really not a team or a program that is consistently really solid at basketball, and that's really more of Memphis's speed. Obviously, they have had decent football teams in the past 5-10 years. They have a season or two where they're really good, or they're a potential top 25 team. But for the most part, this is a basketball school. So I think the Pac could try to reach out to them. If the Pac was able to get a decent TV deal, I think that might be enticing to Memphis. But besides that, I don't think that Memphis is going to be the team that will join the Pac. I think of the two southern schools, I think Tulane's a lot more likely to actually make that jump. But really, I think this is between Sacramento State and Texas State. And those are going to be your big two names, I think, that are going to keep coming up. And we're going to keep hearing them about the Pac-12. The other thing that I just think is kind of fun, I kind of doubt this is even going to be a conversation. But obviously, Northern Illinois kind of joining the Mountain West. Is there a MAC team that maybe has a chance? I don't think so, personally. That's more kind of for fun. But you never know. Maybe an Akron Zips, maybe a Ball State kind of says, hey, we could maybe try to do this in the Pac. I doubt it. I think that's just more my speculation. That's more just for fun for me. But I'm a MAC guy, personally. So, gotta shout out those guys. But I think this is really seriously between probably Sacramento State and Texas State. But I wouldn't count out either Tulane or Memphis just yet. We don't know how this is going to go. Realignment's been crazy. It will continue to be crazy. It's going to be something that's going to keep being brought up. But this is just fun to speculate about. And I think we're going to keep hearing Sacramento State and Texas State's names in the near future. So we're going to take our next break of the show. When we come back, we're going to go over coaches. We're going to talk to some guys that I think could maybe be a Coach of the Year candidate. Going to have some fun with that. So we're going to take our break, and we'll be back shortly on the GSMC College Football Podcast.